No.
No. I have the 24 samples boxes of Doom, but I didn't think to actually pour anything. So I've been doing. Well, I have. Okay, so on the flight, I got these Wild Turkey minis, not Wild Turkey, Buffalo Trace. It's a different animal.
Definitely a different animal.
That was a dad joke.
What flight were you on that were handing out Buffalo Trace minis?
Apparently Alaska Airlines switched from Woodford to and Chivas, and now all the whiskey they have it's just Buffalo Trace. So you can't get Scotch anymore.
Well, that I would be irate.
I was kind of annoyed. I was like to the lady. So we paid for extra legroom, and you get drinks with extra legroom for some reason. So I'm like, well, I'm just gonna max it out. I learned from a guy on a flight like a couple years ago that you could just ask for a double, and they'll give you two.
Oh, okay.
So like just order a double with soda or whatever, and then like they don't care.
No, they don't.
So like I wasn't going to drink on the flight. My wife wasn't going to drink on the flight because we had the baby to look after. But I left the flight with 4 minis of Buffalo Trace. So I'm going to stop talking about it and have some.
All right. Well, your warm up pour is Buffalo Trace for an American Single Malt podcast. I like it.
That's all I got. I mean, I do have the 24 box sample of Doom. Hey, we're not going to talk about the reissue, so I could pour the reissue as a warm up drink.
You very well could. I just pulled the. I have a small sample of the Westward Milestone 2, so I poured a little bit of that.
Excellent.
Why not?
Actually, why not? As long as we're yapping, let's see what else is in here. You know what? Have you guys heard of Cashel?
No.
Caiseal makes a peated American single malt. This is from Virginia, courtesy of Phil. It's an oddball. I'm going to start with it. We're going to prove that peated whiskey doesn't throw us off for the rest of the night.
Or amber.
Or we're going to prove that it does.
I don't know what this is. I have a sample here. That it was professionally sealed, so I don't know what this is.
Yeah. Well, all right. We're got our warm-up pours. All right, guys, what are we doing here?
You know what that is?
That's a perfect warm-up pour. And I'm not even going to say why.
Is that one of your blinds for this week?
No, that was a guest on Bourbon with Friends, which episode should be coming out next Friday, maybe.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right, so before we completely lose the audience,
yeah.
All right, welcome back to 3 Guys, 1 Grain. We are the 3 guys, and the 1 grain is all around us. We're talking about American single malt whiskey from the perspective of consumers. No guests, no compromises, just our real consumer perspectives.
Amen.
Speaking of no guests, I was thinking about this, and I know that was like my kind of like I threw that out there, and we're going to
immediately change the plan.
We kind of all liked it, right?
Exactly.
I'm not thinking, but I'm thinking some guests might be cool. I was thinking somebody like Steve Howley. He's not associated to a brand. Right, but he is, American Single Malt Whiskey Commission. I think he would be a fun guest to have on. I think maybe some liquor store owners would be cool. Ones in bigger markets, i.e. like Roe, would be kind of neat. And get a perspective as to what could be done as far as getting, more sales on American Single Malt. What would it take for you to put a ton of American Single Malt on the shelf? That those kind of guests I think would be kind of cool because there's no brand specific behind it, so we're not biased in one brand or the other on that.
That makes sense.
I like that idea, but definitely would be something to talk about.
Because like for today, for instance, we wouldn't want to have Adam and Nora on since we're sipping their whiskey. I would hate to have some sort of bias and be like, hey, because when the person's sitting across from you, even on a screen, you're like, man, this is good. When afterwards you're kind of like, so that's, I understand that.
Yeah. So. Agreed. Not that Adam and Nora would ever sell us whiskey.
I totally agree.
Yeah. We all respect each other enough that like, they're going to be okay if we don't like something that they produce, but we also have pretty high confidence that we're going to like pretty much everything.
Yes,
absolutely.
My experience with Lost Lantern has been not everything is 100% for me, but it's all objectively high quality.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a couple of things that I've had where I was like, okay, I could see how somebody who was really into a good bourbon or something like that would really enjoy this, but they're not going to like these American single malts they're putting out just because, that doesn't fit their profile. And that's the cool thing about, you can pick and choose which one you want. So.
Yeah. All right. So topics for tonight's show. We have 3 topics to go over. We're going to try to keep this hour and a half-ish. Doug, we're going to try to keep this an hour and a half-ish.
Yep, that's the If we manage to do this in under an hour and a half, I might actually win some points back with my wife. Because
all right,
I always say it's going to take XYZ, and then it's half an hour longer.
We're going to do it then.
All right, we got it. All right,
let's go. Sample number 1 is Lost Lantern. We're going to dive right into it. It's the Scotch Lovers Collection.
Yes, I think our first topic is going to be the Lost Lantern stuff. I think what we're gonna kind of do is we're gonna kind of go through some of the Lost Lantern stuff, and we'll kind of blend in a couple of the other topics along with it.
Okay,
does that work?
Yeah.
So Randall, what was the first sample that we are tasting here?
Okay, this I actually have the write-up from Lost Lantern, so I will read from that as well. But this is the American Vatted Malt, the remix. This is a blend of straight whiskeys. It is coming in. I'm going to look over here because it's a lot easier for me to see. 110.7 proof. A bottle's about $100, and they did produce about 800 bottles of this. And it is the follow-up to the whiskey that was launched in Lost Lantern in 2020. This blend unites single malts from 11 distilleries across 8 states: Andalusia Whiskey Company, Balcones Distilling, Cedar Ridge, Copperworks, McCarthy's, Santa Fe, 888, Virginia Distilling, Westland, and Westward, and Whiskey Del Bach. All of them are absolutely fantastic by themselves. Let's blend them together and see if they're any good, right? Rich and dark with spice and fruit is deeper, smokier evolution of the original, a tribute to 5 years of discovery. So, yeah.
Okay.
So that's some killer brands in there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, heavy hitters fill in the glass. They were all single malts, all American single malts. So this is a blended malt whiskey, right? By every standard.
Yeah. Except we don't call it that in the United States.
We do not.
Well, it does technically. It may not actually fit.
I don't think we've run into that yet. I think 2020 Lost Lantern put out the vatted malt. That was the first time that a multi-distillery blend got put together of malt whiskey. And I think this is like maybe the second or third time now.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think there was one other one that you've talked about before, some kind of charitable.
There's a couple of others.
Okay.
So
it's not it's limited. It's not.
It's a limited thing, right? Like there's a few. So independent bottlers in the United States, you've got Single Cask Nation, Lost Lantern, Barrel. I wouldn't. Yeah, you've got American Single Cask. You've got Two Souls. You've got Raising Glasses. I'm sure there's a couple of others, but they focus on single malts.
Yes.
And then there's Barrel, which is not an independent bottler because they don't really it per se, right? These definitions are fuzzy. They don't disclose the distilleries that they get their juice from, but they did release a single malt batched product. So American blend of American single malt whiskeys is the term that I use. It's not good.
It is not good.
It's, hey, we were actually, Randall, you asked us in the chat about whiskeys we regret. And then you did a podcast episode about that. And I wasn't sure if that was going to make today's list of topics, but hey, let's filter it in.
Why not?
Actually, that Barrel blended malt that I kind of went out of my way to get, I ended up finding it I kept my eye out for it. I ended up finding it in a Total Wine. So like not that far out of my way for it. But I saw it and I'm like, well, I got to get that because I can't have Lost Lantern being the only blend of American single malts that I have to look at as a representation of that particular type of product. That is a bottle I regret buying. I don't remember how much I spent on it. I think it was like $70 or something like that. But it's like I don't want to drink it. It's not like actively bad, but it has faults.
Yeah.
Right. This is on my rating scale. I like saying 5 out of 10 is like there's nothing. It's neutral. It's not average because average is a statistical thing. Like, what is the average of my reviews? I don't like using the word average for 5 out of 10, but 5 out of 10 is neutral. There's nothing good about it that brings the score up, and there's nothing bad about it that brings the score down. Right. So that's what 5 out of 10 is on my rating scale. I give the barrel blended like a 4.
Wow.
It's, and
I remember
that's pretty low because when we get to like 3, it's like, you didn't really achieve whiskey. It's at that point. Like
yeah,
2,
it's
3,
not
3,
even
2, 1.
really drinkable. It's just kind
Yeah.
of like,
So it's like, it's drinkable, but it's like, what am I going to do with it? It doesn't stand out in a cocktail. It doesn't taste good on its own. It doesn't taste good really on the rocks. Like nothing comes out of it if you put it on the rocks. Like it just falls flat for me as a product.
So,
and it's got some odd notes. It's like, it's got like banana, but like a weird banana, I wouldn't even call Jack Daniels a good banana. It's banana ruts flavor, but it's like weird, funky, like not quite banana bread banana, but banana that's gone a bit off, Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So blended malt whiskey. Obviously this is a category from Scotland that has been around for some time. Notable blended Scotch whiskeys or blended malt whiskeys from Scotland. Johnny Walker Green Label, all malts go into that blend. Compass Box, they're a huge blending house. They put out a lot of only malt blends. They also do the other way, which includes grain whiskey. If I remember correctly, Monkey Shoulder is an all blended malt.
Yes.
Those are notable brands that you can find on the shelf. They are all malt whiskeys blended together, multiple distilleries, blah, 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 which is exactly what we have here from all American producers. Randall, you got into it. I saw that. What are you picking up on this one?
So for me, it's super light and fruity on the nose at first. And then once you get the taste in there, all that comes through. I get the brown sugary molassesness of the balcones in there. I get all that. And then there's this lingering smoke at the end. It's obviously the Del Bach and Santa Fe. It's more of a mesquite smoke, not so much of a peat smoke, but then there is a minerality to it as well. So I feel like it's really cohesive in the way that it's presenting. I've gone back one more time, but I can't really pick out the Virginia. And I feel like what was the other one that was in there? Copperworks. I feel like the Copperworks is kind of getting lost in there. And I've actually never had 888 Distillery. So I know we might dump into it tonight. All the rest I've had, obviously, but like that one, so I don't have a flavor profile for it, but the Copperworks and that one was just, it's kind of in the background, but maybe it's giving it some of those fruit notes or something like that.
Okay.
So rather than like breaking down, like it's very tempting. You've got a list of distilleries and you're like, I know half of those. Let's see if I can find them in the blend. I actually feel like this one, it doesn't like, there's always that temptation, but it doesn't like drive me to find those things. I want to experience it as its own thing, right? Like Monkey Shoulder, I know, like 2 of the 3 for sure. I know like individually what's in Monkey Shoulder, like the Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, and then there's like I forgot the other one, Ardna something.
Ardnaho.
But that's the new Isla, so it's not that one. It's a Speyside, I think. But it doesn't matter, right? Like I'm with that product, I'm not necessarily tempted to find like, oh, this part of it is Glenlivet, this part of it is Glenfiddich, whatever. And I think the same is true of this one, where just like I really like this as like a standalone whiskey. Like it for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lost Lantern's website generally gives you very good information about casking, blah, 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 blah. A lot of information on it. This particular whiskey doesn't have those stats. So going through the distillery list, now, depending on the stuff that they got from those distilleries, some of them could be new, some of them could be ex-bourbon barrels. Some of
Right.
them could have been some kind of other barrel or a mix of both.
Mhm.
So I'm going out on a limb, and I'm assuming there is multiple different types of maturation going on here. Cedar Ridge, for example, I know Cedar Ridge went into ex-bourbon and a plethora of other stuff, unless this was a single cask of Cedar Ridge that they bought.
Right.
Balcones was the same way. They're going to do probably not new oak so much, but they do for the Texas, or they did for the Texas one. Copperworks, another one that does both new and used bourbon barrels. McCarthy's almost strictly uses used barrels.
Right.
888, I believe, almost strictly uses used barrels. Virginia also the same.
Mhm.
Westland is going to be, it could be a mix. Westward could be a mix. Whiskey Del Bach is almost exclusively new barrels. Yes.
Right.
Obviously, these are not hard and fast rules. Each of those distilleries does have expressions that they do in both, opposite of what their norm is. That does happen. But so I like that in American Single Malt. That's one of the things that I love about American Single Malt. Some of my favorite ASMs are where they mature some in new and some in used, and then blend together and kind of make they're especially when they do a little bit more used than new, but there's enough new in there to get get some of those oak tannins, those barrel influences in that malt whiskey, but not enough to decimate the delicacies of malt.
I want to point out, I think it's pretty cool. So they said 11 distilleries across 8 states. That means there's 3 states that are represented twice.
Yes.
That's not the only way that math could work out, but that is the case. And the states that were represented twice are Texas, Washington, and Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that makes a lot of sense. I definitely, when I think about regions of American Single Malt, I definitely think of Washington and Oregon, Pacific Northwest. Feels like a place where a lot of American Single Malt happens, even though maybe strictly the number of distilleries that are really doing American Single Malt, like as leaders of the category, is like 4 or 5. And then Texas, again, like there's like 2 major ones, I would say, Balcones, Andalusia, and then there's like a handful of other Texas distilleries that are also doing American Single Malt.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Those 3 states that you mentioned are definitely three regions that produce a unique style of whiskey out of those regions. Obviously, the Pacific Northwest, we get very, very reminiscent of overseas climate. Texas, we get that high, dry heat. And in some parts of Texas, it's humid heat as well, depending on where you're at.
Very coastal, plain, humid, lowland kind of stuff.
And
so,
then,
like, is it Iron Root? I think is down kind of near Houston.
No, Iron Root is north of Texas.
Oh,
right?
who am I thinking? There's somebody. There's somebody who's down like southeast of Houston. Never mind. Doesn't matter. It's not. It's not American Single Malt though. At least not primarily.
No, okay. Okay.
But yeah. So that being said, blends are not typically my thing, and if I do enjoy a blend, almost exclusively it is a blend of all malt whiskeys. Right.
Right.
Like I don't care for single grain whiskey or grain whiskey at all. And when it's blended into malt whiskey, I can still tell it's there, and I'm not a fan generally. This is lovely. The nose is lovely. I know there is some distilleries in here that are peated. It doesn't come across smoky. It doesn't come across earthy or any of those things that you associate with anything peated. Now, could that be because it's a very small amount in there? Maybe. But
yeah. So for the American Vatted Malt #1, the blend was, I think, 7 distilleries, something like that. But every one of the distilleries was 1 barrel.
6, I think.
6, okay. And it was 1 barrel per distillery. I don't know if that's the case for this one, where it's like 11 distilleries with like precisely 11 barrels. And I couldn't find a barrel. I couldn't find a bottle count.
No,
so
and that's what
estimate.
I think
It said 800 bottles.
800
Yeah.
bottles.
800 bottles. So that's plausibly that with some of these smaller format barrels
Well,
from some of these distilleries.
Yeah, and Del Bach we know is 15 to
Yeah.
30 gallon barrels.
So I would believe this is once again one barrel from each distillery.
Yeah, it could be. Very well could be.
And
Probably
like,
didn't use the entire barrel of everything.
Yeah.
that
right.
is possible for sure.
Yeah.
And that I think there's that speaks to like there's a real art to blending with that kind of constraint where you say this blend is going to be one barrel from. I'm sure they could choose how many different distilleries, so they picked the set of distilleries that made sense to go in a blend together.
Yeah.
But besides that, saying one barrel from each of some number of distilleries, and that's going to be the blend, and we're going to find what works of all the barrels and distilleries that we have available to us. I think that's really cool.
I do. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So this is from the Scotch Lovers release.
Mhm.
Now, they called it the Scotch Lovers release, and why did they do that? I think the goal
Scotch Lovers Collection.
Scotch Lovers Collection, yes, release collection, whatever the hell.
To do well by their own branding, I guess.
I think the reasoning behind that maybe is twofold. One, I know personally there's a lot of Scotch drinkers out there that are very into Scotch, and American Single Malt is they turn their nose to it,
Right.
for various reasons. It's too young. I don't like new oak. I don't, whatever their reasoning is, and there's a few of them that get repeated more than some, but I think this is a release to capture those people and say, listen, those qualms you had with American Single Malt, why you won't like it, why you don't like it, why you won't try it, why you won't buy it, because you're a Scotch lover. These are whiskeys that we think could maybe turn the table for you, and at least get you to say, okay, some American Single Malt is very valid. And I mean, obviously, I agree with that statement because I think a lot of American Single Malt is very, very valid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other reasoning behind it is, and this is opinion, American Single Malt needs a kind of a boost here. We need something to do. So Lost Lantern as a company has put out great bourbons from all over the country. They've put out a bunch of great ryes, right? They've done a lot of great single malts as well. The boost that this kind of collection or release is giving American Single Malt, I think, is well needed. And I think it's a good thing. So
Absolutely.
thoughts, Doug?
Yeah, I just my mind drifted off for a second, and I realized once again, episode 2, we forgot to actually introduce ourselves. People who are watching will see our names, but we didn't actually say like, "Hey, I'm." But yeah, whatever. Yeah, I think when this came out, I released the press release as a blog post, and I've been referencing that as we're talking about this. I shared that around, and the most common comment I had that I got back from so there's people like us. We know what Lost Lantern is about.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the fold, so to speak. So we know Lost Lantern to date only does American whiskey,
right?
And it's bourbon, rye, American Single Malt, etc. Right? They've done a wheat whiskey, right? Anything American made, that's good and interesting. So okay, great. So I put this out, and like Scotch Lovers Collection, like people from the Scotch community jumped in and they said, "Hey, like which Scotches are in this collection?" "Oh, there's not a single Scotch in this collection. Why are they calling it Scotch Lovers Release?" Like, okay, I think valid criticism, but also maybe somewhat missing the point.
Right.
But it's valid that that's part of your target audience, I think, right? Part of your target audience is people who are really into Scotch, who don't know Lost Lantern yet, but are going to see this in press releases, Instagram, podcast interviews, whatever, right? And go wait, why are they calling it Scotch if it's not Scotch? Right? whiskey for Scotch lovers that isn't Scotch is already taking a step or two farther away from you may have already lost people.
Right. And it doesn't, it doesn't flow real well.
Right. Well, I mean, just like if they have to do the mental work of saying like, okay, here's a brand. They don't know people like and respect this brand, right? Like imagine you've never heard of Lost Lantern. You're really into Scotch. As an American consumer, these people definitely exist, right? They don't care about bourbon. They don't care about American whiskey. They really like Scotch for whatever reason. Never heard of Lost Lantern, right? So then you see this press release that says Scotch Lovers Collection from an American independent bottler. All of those keywords strung together sounds a lot like you're going to get independent bottlings of Ardnamurchan and Tobermory and whatever
right.
Whatever the hell your favorite Scotch. Looking forward to, hey, what's this American independent bottler gonna come up with as Scotch that targets the American palate? But no, what this collection is American whiskey that targets the Scotch palate.
Yes,
it's the other way around, and I think that like at least and these are like enthusiast communities, so people are really, they like what they like really strongly. They're set in their ways, and they bounced off the idea that they feel like the title alone is a bit of a rug pull. This is not my opinion, but I'm sharing this opinion that I've heard.
Yes.
Right.
I definitely feel like from a starting place of, I'm a fan of Lost Lantern. I know what they do. And they said Scotch Lovers Collection. And without even knowing what was in the collection, I said, okay, they're going to have McCarthy's. They're probably going to have 888, right? They're probably going to have Cedar Ridge. I was wrong about that one. Just like American single malts that I think have a tendency to appeal to a Scotch palate. And I was just really excited to see what Lost Lantern is going to bring, because I love American whiskey. I love Lost Lantern. I love American single malt. But I also, as we talked about in episode 1, I also love Scotch. And so they're saying, hey, Scotch lovers, here's Lost Lantern for the Scotch lovers among you, right? Which is what this is.
I have one
so
question
I think that marketing could go either way. Sorry, go ahead.
On your point, to your point, and I'll come back after you guys answer. Do you guys still have excitement over Scotch whiskey? Like the new release of whatever distillery. This distillery is new. This is their first release. That one's going to be Ardnho. It's a 5-year product. Do you still have the excitement you once did over the new Scotch bottles or the new Scotch releases?
The simple answer is definitely no.
Okay. I am guilty of that as well. I do not have the excitement behind it as much as I used to. And I love Scotch. I mean, I will, like, I get happy when I drink some of it. There's some that are out there that are just, they put me in my happy place because they're just fantastic whiskeys. This release brought some excitement to me. I was excited about these bottles of whiskey. I genuinely was excited. And I think that's amazing because these
I was excited to open the envelope, so to speak, right? They said
these
Scotch Lovers
whiskeys
Collection.
excited me.
Tell me more
About Scotch again, right? Like, I'm trying this one. It's like, how can what can I compare this to? What can I find in the Scotch realm that I can compare this to and see kind of, where the differences are, what I prefer, what I like better, what don't I like about either one of them or both of them or any of that. And it brought some excitement to both ends of the spectrum for me. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. What gets me excited about Scotch is more the opportunity to compare Scotch with other whiskeys, be it Scotch or American single malt or anything else. And less like, and sometimes you just like, you buy something because it's like, well, like there was a world where I loved that thing, right? So like I was leaving Taipei, I think, and I saw the Ardbeg Smoke Trails travel exclusive release in the airport. I'm like, it's been long enough since the stupid NFT bog whiskey that I'm done boycotting Ardbeg now. Sure, let's try this Smoke Trails thing. I got it and I was like, okay, cool, right? Like travel exclusive Ardbeg. It seemed like one of the better deals in the airport. Took it home, stuck it on my shelf. I don't think I've opened it yet.
The excitement was gone.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's like so the excitement for that was okay. I found a cool thing, and I bought it. Retail therapy, right?
Mhm.
And I intend to drink it and share it and whatever, but like, it is not the most exciting thing that has come into my house, right?
No.
And that's true of pretty much any other scotch. I mean, I bought like 80 bottles of scotch off of somebody who was leaving the country. Like just somebody in our scotch meetup group was like, "Hey, I need to hand this scotch off to a good home. Like, who wants it?" Right. So I adopted a whole bunch of scotch.
That's cool.
And Jerm, you saw it, right? I've got
Yeah.
2 rows of that shelf
Yeah.
that is just scotch that, like, you know, I opened them up, I shared them with the local scotch group. The sharing was the exciting part.
Yeah.
Even among most of those whiskeys, the most exciting ones are the ones that were like, these were some of the really good batches of Lafroig 10 cask strength that are long ago that you can't find anymore. That sort of like, I think a lot of people who are into scotch get excitement out of scotch in that way, where it's like, you know, this is a thing that was distilled in the 80s or the 70s, and it was bottled in the early 2000s or, you know, a decade ago. Not like what 3-year-old Ardbeg is up to this week, right?
Right.
Like I don't think anybody's really that interested in new scotch releases from the old scotch, just like the old 200-year-old scotch distilleries, right?
Right.
You largely know what you're going to get. Maybe you've tried enough of that brand, or you've you know, there's some things, right? Like, oh, maybe you know, I got a bonus at work and now I can afford Lafroig 25 or whatever, right? Like I could splurge on a more expensive scotch. But like, do you really expect to find something that you haven't had before? And I actually will say the region of Scotland that still captures my attention that way is like the lesser known Speysides that still use a little hint of peat, or like Highland whiskeys, right? Highland Speyside that's off the beaten path, still use a little bit of peat, still maybe distilling things in the old way. You've got some like old techniques like direct fire or worm tub that people kind of chase those. And like, and I'm so burnt out on the chasing stuff too. Right?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
as soon as someone's like, this
yeah.
thing is worth chasing, I'm like, great. I'm not gonna try to get that whiskey. I don't care.
No, because everybody else would be excited doing it too.
Right.
Yeah, I'd probably be excited by it, but like, you know, partly though, the reason that and I think maybe this is the point that you were getting at, maybe the reason I don't care as much about scotch anymore is because it's such a known quantity, and because there is so much comparatively exciting things going on in American single malt whiskey.
Yeah.
So much to discover.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe, let's see, we're about 33 minutes in.
Maybe we gotta move on.
Well, I think we can keep on the Lost Lantern stuff. But let's move into the next one for sure. Anyways, and I think we were doing the 888. You brought them up.
888.
888 Distillery. This is an 11-year-old single malt, full maturation in a French oak Sauternes cask.
You want to start with the 11-year Sauterne? That's bold. I think I would say let's go the other way. For 888, I would say let's start with the 10-year ex bourbon, and then do the Sauterne, and then do the peated one as we go towards McCarthy's.
I don't think we want to do all those samples.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Time.
I think 3 samples.
Definitely.
And the reason I'm picking this one, because this has not been in a bourbon barrel, a new barrel, or anything that we're used to hearing about in American whiskey. This is full maturation in a ex-Sauternes barrel. So
yeah,
I am a giant fan of Sauternes finished whiskeys.
Amen.
I love Sauternes finished whiskeys. The color on this one does frighten me slightly, as meaning that it may have gone over the top for my liking. Not that my liking is the end all be all, but I tend to not enjoy overly heavy finished whiskeys as much as I do clean distillate, ex bourbon, third fill, second fill, whatever. So I love the state. I think they're probably one of the premier distilleries in the States for single malt whiskey. I think they make a very reminiscent to Scotch whiskey type of whiskey. And I'm very excited to get into this and see how it goes. So
One of the things I was, when you were talking about that, and you said how dark it was, I was wondering if maybe they put some coloring in it, right? Well, on the press release, it says all releases are non-chill filtered and no color added. So
Right.
whatever
And
you're
that's one of
getting,
the things.
you're getting.
That's one of the things about Lost Lantern that we I mean, you always check the label,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're ever going to compromise that value.
No, I mean, you have to think though, not that Triple A wouldn't do that or whatever, but I mean, you just have to. Yeah, Lost Lantern wouldn't do it, but with one of the people they're procuring the, anyway. But yeah,
right. So Lost Lantern's not doing it. However, the distillery that they bought it from may have done something.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, they're buying
That happens with
barrels.
rum all the time. I know, but that happens with rum all the time.
Yeah.
So
So
is it like they put the coloring in the barrel?
yeah, there's that. There is additives after the fact. What, and I'm talking about rum, but additives after distillation. If the distillery has done that and an independent bottler buys that, they're not doing it, but they're like, hey, there is some additives or some coloring on this one. I would assume at that point in time, Lost Lantern would make that information known.
Absolutely.
They are very transparent about what they are getting, what they're putting out. So I don't see where that would change that aspect of it.
No. And this is actually the oldest whiskey as well that they've ever put out.
Yeah,
11 years.
Lost
Yes.
Lantern. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, let's take half
you
a step back.
You made
real
a
quick.
face, and I'm curious as to what that face was.
It's a good face.
Okay.
It's like, are you guys into music at all?
Yes.
It's like when somebody's doing a really good solo in jazz, you get the stank face. You're like, yeah,
It's grimy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those. But okay, to take a half step back, so American Vatted Malt Remix, compared to, I don't know if you guys have a fresh memory of the American Vatted Malt #1, but how do you feel it stands up?
That's a great question. Remix is very good. I think it's balanced. I think it's even. I think there's nothing that stands out over the top. I think breaking it down with a little bit of water brought out a little bit more fruitiness to it, maybe a touch more of the ashier smokiness to it. I think, my opinion, American Vatted, the first one. I haven't tried the reissue yet, but the first one is one of the best whiskeys that I had tried in a long time, especially it being a blend. It was, the smoke was there, the fruit was there, the delicacy was there. It was just a very, very good whiskey. I'm gonna put American Vatted #1 over this remix for sure.
Okay, interesting. I feel like American Vatted Malt #1 either. I don't think my bottle's been open like too long. I mean, it's been open a while, but it's 75% full. So like, how much of a problem could that be? But for me, either it lost a little bit of the sparkle in my memory, especially comparing it against this. I felt like it leaned more on the fruity with like hints of smoke. And I think Remix is the more balanced, more interesting whiskey that actually reminds me a lot more of a Scotch. Like it reminds me more of like you've got a touch of peat in there, a touch of smoke, a little bit of like there's some kind of sherry or brandy casks in there maybe. It feels like a really good blend from a really well-established Scotch distillery. And like, as much as I was talking earlier about like, that's not exciting anymore for Scotch because it's a known quantity, right?
Yeah.
Not because it's bad. Scotch is still great.
Oh, absolutely.
But to see that American Single Malt Whiskey is getting to a point where we can get that kind of product out of American Single Malt Whiskey is very exciting.
Yes.
And I also don't think it's lost the character of American whiskey either.
Right.
That's important. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think because if you said, "Hey, this whiskey here tastes exactly like Scotch," but it's XYZ dollars, and like it depends on which Scotch, right? But then somebody says, "Well, why don't I just buy that Scotch?"
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great segue into topic number 2.
Right.
Is American Single Malt trying to replicate Scotch whiskey? Are they trying to be a replacement for Scotch whiskey?
So I think if you ask anybody from a marketing perspective, I think everybody is going to say no. We're trying to do our own thing. There may be some distilleries that are strongly inspired by Scotch, right? McCarthy's inspired by Lagavulin.
Yeah.
888 clearly inspired by Scotch. I don't know their story quite as well, but to me it feels like they're really aiming down the bowling alley of Speyside.
I'll agree with that.
So,
however, their location lends a very, very large hand to that.
Yes.
Right.
Or arguably Highland Island Scotch.
Right.
Whiskey.
Coastal, anyway, but Speyside's got plenty of coastal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is. I think American Single Malt is its own thing. I think there is, there's that old saying, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, or whatever the saying is. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but you get what I'm saying. I don't think they're trying to imitate. I think they took a spirit that is known throughout the world, and they said, we can do this. Why aren't we doing this? Let's do this. And let's make it ours. Let's do it.
Right.
And I think most places have achieved that very, very well. I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, you brought up McCarthy's, I love Lagavulin. It's great whiskey. I bet you I can make something similar to it at our distillery, and going after doing that. That happens in beer all the time, especially homebrewers. Homebrewers do this a lot. Like, man, I love a German wit beer. So that's the first thing I'm going to try to create. We're going to try to recreate Hoegaarden. That's a thing. Is it going to be just like Hoegaarden? Nope. Not even close. However, if you can get it to a point where you're like, man, that's really good. I get the resemblance. It's not the same, but I get the resemblance. I think this is great. This is where we want to be. And I think that's where Steve McCarthy did. He stopped it there. He said, this is where I want to be. It's not the same. And we know that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it wasn't just, it was like, okay, I can make that. But at the same time, Steve McCarthy wanted to be inspired by Isla and then make it their own. He wanted to use Oregon peat, but that proved to be a logistical problem. So they went with the Scottish peated barley. But they did use Oregon oak.
Which is a great move.
There was definitively an American twist.
Yeah. I agree.
And then I think you have like Boulder Spirits. Alistair Brogan founded Boulder Spirits to make single malt before American Single Malt was an organized category. But he wanted to do it in a way that paid homage to Scotland and also in the American way, right? Like, let's make single malt, but put an American twist on it. And so for him, the answer to that question was it's always going to go into new oak barrels. And that's a different, like, new American oak barrels, right? And like that is consistent with American whiskey tradition for the most part.
Right.
Yep. And is a valid conclusion. If you're going to make a whiskey the American way, that's a thing that you can do.
Sure.
And it's really interesting to me that, like, you look at, there's such a spectrum of whiskey that American Single Malt effectively encompasses, right? Because you've got everything from the very bourbon-like American Single Malt, where it's like, okay, we made it with 100% malted barley, but we did it on a column still, and we put it in new oak barrels, and we aged it 4 years in Kentucky. And, like, not to call out any specific brands, because that's not the point. We're talking like spectrum here, right? And then you've got on the complete opposite side, peated barley. Even going so far as to saying peat from the United States. or even, mesquite barley and pot stills and refill casks and, almost entirely, sort of the quintessential decisions that would be made for Scottish single malt. And everything in between and oddball weird stuff, right? Using American brandy casks and
before you get too far off on that.
Yeah, because I've had this rant a few times, so please.
Yes.
Take over.
So what you said, it's definitively American to put single malt whiskey in new oak for maturation. That is a very American way to do single malt. I agree with you. It very much is. However, Scotland can choose to do new oak if they would like. Their rules state it needs to be in an oak cask. It says nothing about new, used, or otherwise. Right. It just needs to be oak. Yep. So they could, if they wanted to, essentially age Scottish single malt in new oak and, make a spirit similar to what we have been making. However, it'd be barley. But they didn't. There's maybe a handful of distilleries that have finished in a new American or a new charred oak container. Right. But nobody's exclusively doing it in new oak.
No. Because it would be outside of the Scotch profile, right?
Right.
And so with American single malt, the cool thing about it is we don't have a freaking profile. Like there's no profile on it. So it's like just make good whiskey, put it in a shoebox. I don't care as long as it tastes good, right? So and some of them taste like they came out of a shoebox.
Well, put it in oak. That's actually in the law.
I mean, no, it is in the law. I don't. Well, it could be
an oak shoebox.
An oak shoebox,
it's oak for your wooden shoes,
oak
right?
Container, and I always loved that.
Came from New Holland, Michigan.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute. There's a distillery in New Holland, Michigan making cinnamon.
And
I wonder if they're using a shoebox.
Yeah.
They are not using a shoebox. Just
shout out to another great Lost Lantern release. The Discovery Club, the New Holland bourbon finished in Dragon's Milk stout cask.
Absolutely fantastic.
That's one of those whiskeys where I think for me personally, I put a lot of value on complexity because that's a whiskey I can keep coming back to and thinking about and spending a lot of time with. But that Dragon's Milk cask bourbon is one of those things where it has 2 tasting notes and it's awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like juice. You just want to keep drinking it because it's just so good. Not because it's complex and makes you think, but because this, you're going to have a good time every time.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the Sauternes cask because good.
So you asked me, what's with the stank face.
I just took my first sip and I got to tell you.
You also made a face. I saw that.
I'm happy.
Yeah, you did make a face.
Yes.
It's one of those whiskeys that makes you go, oh, damn.
Yeah.
What I was specifically reacting to, because I've already, I did an Instagram live and I did a written review, partial tasting notes, written review and ratings already. So I formed opinions about these in advance because of my own content schedule.
Yeah.
But what I was specifically reacting to today is I got a note of Turkish delight. And that's one of those fun notes where it's that's exactly what it is. But now let's break down what is that. And so it's rose water and pistachios and powdered sugar.
I think almond is in there sometimes.
And almond, yes. Yeah. And also the first pass through this, I got golden raisins. I got the sort of all those good dark sherry notes, but brighter, which is interesting because this reads like Sauternes to me, a really high proof, like the wine.
Absolutely.
But it's also more.
A lot more.
It's the whiskey is definitely playing a role here. You mentioned the color. I hadn't really thought about that. I was 11 years in a used cask, that makes sense. But Sauternes is a pale gold color, usually.
Yeah.
The wine. So the extra color here is coming from more time in the wood.
Right.
Probably
absolutely.
A lot longer than the wine spends in the wood.
Well, it kind of depends upon, we can get into this or not, how dry the barrel was as well. So, and to say, 11 years, you're going to get every inch of Sauternes out of that. Now, it's all in the whiskey for sure. And I did a full write-up on Sauternes, or a podcast talking about it, and it's really cool, like the way that they make it. It's just really interesting. It's a very special and very tedious process to make said Sauternes. So for them to be able to put it in and leave it in there for 11 years, that's fantastic.
And as I recall, they're a bit spendier of a cask to buy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Than anything else. Maybe not. PDC. PDC is also a very expensive cask.
That one is too. Yeah,
but
it's not like port, right? Port. Everybody makes a port.
Right.
It's fine. Yeah. Even Madeira. A lot of people can make a Madeira as well, but.
Yeah, okay, 888, elephant in the room, the price issue. And there's a lot of ways to approach the price question. We talked about one of these on a phone call last week or the week before.
Yeah.
But particularly like facts on the table. Similarly aged 888 single malt will cost you, if you go for the 8-year, it's $250. If you go for the 12-year, it's $350.
Yes.
So here at 11 years, $300, give or take, feels like a fair price, but then you've got the Sauternes cask, right? Like, I mean, and if we're talking like OP prices,
right? I was anticipating over 4 for this one,
right? So when they announced it and I didn't know the prices yet, I was like, oh man, like if I want to buy this whole collection, I'm going to have to put aside $2,000.
I said the same thing. I said the same exact, even the same figure.
Because you do the rough back of envelope math. You're like, there's 3 888 casks in here. That's $900. There's a 10-year-old McCarthy's.
That's I was like the 3 888s. That's $1,000 right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And then you're like, just pad it out, right? It's probably $1,500. I don't know, whatever. Like the fact that you can buy this whole collection for, what was the figure? I think like $925.
I was just shy of 900.
Yeah. So here's with the bundle pricing,
shipping was free.
Yeah, if you add up all the bottles,
yes, yeah,
bundling. If you add up all the bottles, it's $890 plus tax and shipping. If you get the 2 bundles where you get the 5 single casks, which would individually be $700, you can buy them for $625, and then the 2 vatted malt bottlings, reissue and remix, would individually be $190, but the bundle's $170. So if you buy both, the total is, and for some reason I didn't write it down.
Yeah, it was 8 something. I don't know.
The total is $815 plus taxes and shipping. You save $95, but like $815 for all this?
Yeah,
crazy. Like my that's 2 months of whiskey budget for me. So my
I was going to say, because there's people that are going to hear that and be like, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. But like again, so we talked about last time. Like look at that wall behind Jerm. All 3 of us have whiskey collections.
We're not responsible. We're not fiscally responsible.
No, right, this is not financially responsible. We do this. We had reasons initially, and then it got out of control, and then we became content creators.
Yeah,
we didn't set out with a mission to be content creators and put 200 bottles of whiskey up behind us. No. That's not the order this happened in. So for people like us who already have really large collections.
Speaking of this, and this just reminded me of this, Lost Lantern did send us samples of the entire release. So these were gifts from Lost Lantern to go over, to talk about, That being said, I know myself and Doug bought the entire release. I, in fact, purchased, finalized, blah, 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 before I even looked or received the samples. So I didn't even have any idea. So they are purchased bottles. You know, it's not a free bottle.
Yeah. What ended up happening here, I did the same thing, right? I got the samples and I bought, before they even arrived, I had bought the set.
Yes. Yeah. Same deal.
And what getting the samples from them let us do was receive them sooner. Basically, the media samples go out a little bit in advance. Actually, my bottles still haven't actually shipped.
Because there's a hang up with the McCarthy's.
Yeah. Okay. McCarthy's is having an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not McCarthy's.
Not McCarthy's.
It's the distributor. There's a break in the chain between distributors. So
right. Yeah. Something happened.
That's what we're waiting on.
So yeah, there's a delay. Phil was really concerned because on his shipping tracking thing, he was like, this package turned around at some point and went back the wrong way. And I'm like, let Adam know, but I'm sure they know.
Yeah, mine doesn't. Mine says it doesn't even exist. So
yeah. So yeah, and like anyways. So yeah, getting this media sample pack let us all do podcasts. I believe all three of us have podcasts booked with Lost Lantern to talk about this release because this is a very exciting release for the three of us for sure.
Yeah, this is an exciting release for the entire country.
Yeah, it is for sure.
This
is a milestone. This is, I mean, McCarthy's tenure by itself is a milestone.
Yeah, that and I will tell you that is the only one out of the whole lot that I purchased because I had made a purchase earlier in the month, and it turns into one of those things where I was like, crap, I should have saved for this, but like something else came up.
How could you know? I mean, I would have had to, if I was being financially responsible, even within my own framework, I would have had to save for this Lost Lantern release before I knew about it.
So absolutely. I did. Coming Whiskey posted the labels for the three triple.
We saw them coming. We just didn't know when.
I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. Either A, this is going to be a single release and they're going to drop all the triple eights. That's going to be $1,000, right? I in my head, I'm like, those 3 bottles are $1,000. Or I could only hope that maybe they might be in the Discovery Club, or one of them is in the Discovery Club, and then there's a couple other ones coming up. But back in June, when he dropped those labels, or July, maybe it was, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop purchasing and hold back for that particular release. That was my
thing. So actually, what ended up working out for me was I curtailed my whiskey spending when my son was coming. Right, we had a baby on the way, and I'm like, there's gonna be hospital bills, there's gonna be who knows what, right? I gotta stop buying anything for a while, right? And then once things stabilize and everything, I'm okay. Like, they would bring back the whiskey budget a little bit, but like, be a little conservative. The Lost Lantern release was one I was not gonna miss, but in this case, OND is a tough season, right? October, November, December, whiskey brands do a ton of releases. They do a ton of media press pushes, media samples, buy this, buy that, get all your holiday shopping in, right? And what they're trying to do is capture somebody. Every distillery is going to capture one, maybe going to capture a consumer one time. And then I like to say, starting a podcast, I've played myself, right? Because now the podcast is a justification for anything I want to buy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For sure.
So most of the time, I'm not necessarily choosing between this release or that release, but now I am, because the whiskey budget has had to shrink a little bit. And so I used to have a bigger whiskey budget. This is 3 months of whiskey that I just bought. And like, even if you just talk about the number of bottles, like how I don't know about you guys, like I can do a lot with a sample, but if I want to really like get into, like, there's a difference between the 2-ounce sample, which is enough to do some content on, do a review, but it's like the Coke versus Pepsi thing, right? Everybody thought Pepsi was better if they had 1 sip, right? But then if you spend time with the whole bottle and you see how it changes over time, or you see how you acclimate to it as a palate, like some of these really interesting, like my initial impression of this 888 11-year Sauterne is that even though it's $180, I actually might want another bottle of this because this is pretty unique and very good.
It really is.
Am I still going to feel that way when I get to the end of this bottle? But if I'm going to buy a second bottle, I got to do it now.
So in your opinion, how long are these going to last? The 10-year is already sold out, gone.
Yeah.
The 10-year ex-bourbon 888 is gone, sold out.
Yeah.
So
not
the
very
6-year
long.
peated, the 11-year Sauternes is still available.
Yep.
As far as I can tell.
My suspicion for those, I think it's number of bottles, but I think it's also people see a 5-year 888 and they're like, or a 5 or 6 year peated 888, no age statement, right? Why should I care as much about that one as the one that has an age statement on it? And then they see Sauterne cask full maturation, $180, and they go, well, what if I don't like that flavor profile? There's going to be a lot of it. It feels like a riskier buy. But for Scotch lovers, the target of this release, 10 years in ex-bourbon, is a really safe bottle to buy.
Yes.
And it's a great deal. At $150, you're getting $300 worth of worth of 888 liquid, but even at cask strength at like half the price.
Yeah.
To that point, though, it's $150 10-year-old whiskey.
Right? Yeah.
Nowhere in Scotch or Scotland are you buying a 10-year-old at $150. Now, if these are people, yes, if
cask
these are
strength, right? Okay. It is cask strength, right? Cask strength, independent bottled. Okay. Talk about like SMWS or Single Cask Nation that do cask strength independent bottlings. That's not an odd price, but I will say
I'm not saying the price is bad. I'm saying for the people that they're trying to convert over. I've been buying Glenmorangie 10 for 20 years. I love Glenmorangie 10. Why would I spend an extra $90 on this 10-year-old because it's from America? Yep. Now, most of those people that target audience, that audience that I'm talking about, they don't know that 888 Distilling, if they were to put out a 10-year, it would be a $300 bottle.
Right.
So the fact that you're getting this at about half of what the original distillery would sell it for, and you're getting it at cask strength, now the price seems very, very good. Right.
But think who's going to be the people who actually bought and sold out that cask? It's people who are already fans of Lost Lantern, probably know about 888, and immediately saw what a great deal that is.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So I think that release was not destined to be the thing that converts Scotch drinkers who aren't into American Single Malt whiskey yet. Right. This collection is supposed to be that. Scotch lovers who aren't yet into American Single Malt whiskey, or even like us, American Single Malt whiskey lovers who are also into Scotch.
Yes.
There are dozens of us. I mean, just the fact that I found you guys on the internet more or less randomly, like, there's got to be a lot more people who are out there not making content.
Absolutely.
In the same camp.
For sure. 174 bottles is all there was, though.
Yeah. So it was a short release
of the 10-year, but it was the shorter one. For sure, but
that also gives you an idea of how well this set is selling, or like how fast this set is selling. So like, right off the bat, I love McCarthy's. McCarthy's is my favorite distillery worldwide. I've gotten more comfortable with saying that. McCarthy's 10-year.
That's a bold statement, and I
like it. And I've said it more than once. And there's a reason that my first barrel pick was with McCarthy's.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I only ever did that one barrel pick, I'd be happy. Because like I did that for the love of the whiskey, not because I want to start a business doing independent bottlings, right? I think a lot of people who do independent bottlings are like, I'm going to make a business out of this.
No.
You don't think so? I think a lot. I think maybe not like by the numbers, people who've done barrel picks.
I don't think that's the original intention.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
I guess I've seen the ones that became businesses, so it's survivorship bias.
Yep, there's that, and I'm sure there's people out there be like, this is what I want to do, right? I'm going to buy barrels, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to sell them, I'm going to buy more barrels, I'm going to
Yep.
That's their
that's
their goal from the get go. But I would say that's way less popular than I picked a barrel, everybody liked it, so I picked another barrel. That one sold really fast. So I picked 2 barrels, and those both sold really fast. So I guess I'm going to just start doing this. Yeah. I think it more or less you fall into it versus I'm going after it.
If you love it if you love it and it does well and you want to stick with it, then it becomes a business.
Yeah.
And not everybody who does the first two things is going to stick with it.
Right.
So there's that too. So yeah, survivorship bias, because everybody and their uncle wants to pick a barrel.
Yeah, I know.
But anyways,
okay. So my thoughts on this Sauternes. I had some hangups at the beginning, thinking that it may be overdone, over finished, but it's not. It's not finished, but in that realm, it is not. It is delightful. The Sauternes comes through very, very nice. There is golden raisins. I love Turkish delight note. I love that note. I after you said that, I looked here. Yeah, absolutely. Rosewater, orange or lemon, cinnamon, mint. icing. So, sugar and cream.
Is this Turkish delight notes, or is this
That's yeah, that's what Turkish delight is made.
Okay.
It's how it's made.
Because I can also believe that's Lost Lantern's tasting notes on this.
Wow. Okay. Like it's literally Turkish delight. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But no, I had to look because
I'm
not 100% certain on what Turkish delight is either. And yes, I can like reading how it's made, what it's made out of. The notes I agree with.
So
I don't get much of an orange. I don't get any
if you
orange. Actually,
have Turkish delight, like the way that they do it. Provided you can find a Turkish restaurant, at the end of the meal, get the Turkish coffee, which is like it's brewed directly on the grounds and served that way. So the bottom of your cup has like a sludge in it. It's super strong coffee. It's like espresso vibes, but like made a different way. And they serve it with Turkish delight.
Okay.
So you get a really bitter drink and a really sweet treat.
Okay.
I will tell you, I added like 3 or 4 drops of water to it because it's coming in at 120 proof. So
yeah.
it's a little up there. No, it's obviously not their highest proof ever, but like it really opened up the fruit notes and especially that golden raisin and all that. It really just exploded it. And of course I had a thimbleful in there, so it probably proofed it down quite a bit, but I would say it would take water very well.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, these are all cask strength. And they don't drink. They don't drink hot.
They don't drink hot at all. The two samples that we've had so far.
This one's a little high. I did get to try the 10-year from somebody who bought a bottle. They received it before I received mine, and I'm not real thrilled about that. But they didn't order the McCarthy, so they didn't have that hang up. That one to me is almost too much proof. The 10-year. There's too much proof. The fruit comes through. The alcohol comes through, the proof comes through, and it turns it into this very tart, sour fruit. And that's all it is. And you add water to it, and it becomes very, very lovely. So, yes, absolutely. These take water very well. They're very high proof. And malt whiskey, to me, does not need to be that high. Yes, it comes out that high. They're bottling it as it comes out of the cask, which is very commendable. I love that. But do not be ashamed of adding water to these because it will enhance and it will only enhance.
That's a great little bit of a collection trivia, I guess, for you guys. Is there a whiskey in your collections that takes water really well, does better with water than without?
I'd say at least 40% of them.
Yeah. Well, sure. But if you had to pick one, like what's the one where you're like, I'm not even going to bother having a sip of this neat because I know it's better with water.
Put that way, it actually is a Lost Lantern. It is from Boulder Spirits. It is their peated single malt at 74.5%. I don't even bother taking a sip neat.
That makes sense.
I put about 7 milliliters of water per ounce.
That's the single malt?
Yeah.
Man, I missed out on that one. I think that was one of those times where my budget was exhausted.
It was also very, very early in Lost Lantern.
Okay.
It was one of the first or second releases.
So the 2021 or
it was 2021, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 22, maybe end of 22 or beginning of 22. I don't remember. I'd have to look. But it's an old bottle.
Okay. Randall, do you have one comes to mind?
Oh, normally for me, if I normally do it to, like, I got a single barrel of whiskey Del Bach, and it was normally they don't go that high, but it was like 122 proof, and the smoke was just overpowering on it. Like and like the smoke mixed with the proof, add a couple drops to it, it tames it just enough to where you're like, okay, this is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it would probably be that one. I'm sure there's a couple bourbons out there that could use a bunch of water. And I've talked to many people, blenders and tasters and stuff, and they're always like, yeah, we add a lot of water, not just like 1 or 2 drops. We're talking, 20 mils of water to it and make it like 10%, 15%, which I don't go that far because I'm not trying to judge it or anything. But yeah, I mean, adding water is definitely a thing. Now, there is some whiskeys out there that need to be drank as they were served to you because that's just the perfect spot
Yeah.
for it. I don't know if you guys know Found North. They blend Canadian whiskeys. Their newest release, Goldfinch, I tried it with water and I didn't like it as much. The cast strength version, whatever they call it, the distiller's proof or whatever, is where it should be. Like anymore, and it's kind of not as good. So
yeah, for me, it's pick a Balcones, any Balcones.
Needs water,
especially the cask strength ones. The first time I open it, I'll always try a sip neat. But then I know, like, I'm not going to open a bottle of Balcones unless I've got my water, dropper handy, because I know that Balcones really good, but you're going to miss out on all the complexity if you don't water it down. And depending on the bottling, it takes more or less water. And so for me, what ends up being my sort of judge of like, this was not a great bottle of Balcones, is if I have to add so much water before the alcohol burn goes away that I've lost the complexity now.
right.
Because a lot of them, like if you bring it down like 5% alcohol, something like that, it really opens up in this beautiful fruity complex thing. And the alcohol burn doesn't become too great yet. It's sort of an interesting thing. You guys have probably noticed this. I don't know if we've talked about this before. Cask strength whiskey usually burns less than lower proof whiskey.
Yes.
My theory behind that is that the oils that come along with an undiluted whiskey actually protect your palate. And when you start breaking those apart with extra water, whether it was done at the distillery before bottling or whether it's done by you, you'll bring in more complexity. Maybe the flavors are better, but you also have to contend with that alcohol burn more now.
Right. Now, if you could do that and let it sit for a month and then go back and drink it, it might not be as bad. But yeah, if you're doing it as you're sampling it for the night, it's definitely going to do that. Yeah.
bread
I
pudding.
think even diluted before bottling, I find the same is more or less true. Same brand, one's cask strength, one's like a bottled and bond. Say. So you got like something that's like 60-ish% and 50% on the dot, and then like 43%, 45%. That 50% is actually usually the one that burns the most.
I just threw out a note on that Sauternes. I totally got right at the very end here, bread pudding. A very nice, very good bread pudding.
I could see it. That afternoose is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is.
It's quite a bit darker. Oh, and by the way, afternoose is the term I use. Dry glass. It's drying out, evaporating. Yeah. I used to put that in my reviews, but it became too much of a hassle. And then I figured out you could actually, if you have two glasses, you pour it into one glass and then you dump it out into the other glass, and then you'll have a glass ready to give you.
And then you let it sit. Yeah. Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much of a hassle. I don't do that anymore.
All right.
I also got nougat, by the way. That was the other
almond nougat. That's a front runner note for me. In almost, I'll say that that almond nougat is a front runner note for me. In I'd probably have to guess 60% of the single malts that I'd try.
Wow. Okay.
I love that note, and I find it a lot. And I don't know if it's because I love that note that I find it a lot, or if the note's there and I just love it. You know. Okay, so we're going to move on to McCarthy's.
Are we going to skip the Warfield today?
Yes, we're going to skip the Warfield. I'm trying to leave some unopened, so I have some. You know,
great. Okay.
You know,
I definitely want to know what you think, but I'll just throw this out there as a comment about the Warfield. It is cool that there is a distillery that's making something that I think is rightfully called a Scotch-like American single malt from a distillery that I had never heard of before this collection came out.
Yes.
And that can't be the only one, and that's really exciting to me.
It is. So it really is.
That actually segues into this next topic very, very well. We have about 15 minutes to cover this. Doug, I know you have the facts and the info on this. So when we get into this, I'm going to have you give us just the bullet point facts.
Yeah.
And then we will converse about it on opinions afterwards. But getting into the McCarthy's, this part of the topics that we talked about is American Single Malt trying to be or trying to replace or trying to imitate Scotch whiskey. No, I don't think so. McCarthy's, you could make an argument for that the concept was based on I can make this at home from trying Lagavulin whiskey. I think what ended up happening is he made a similar spirit and put his Oregon or American twist on it and stopped and said, I did it. This is what I want. This is great. And here we are with McCarthy's now releasing a 10-year-old through Lost Lantern, which the nose on this,
Oh Lord.
geez Louise.
And I mean, it's clinging
peat
to the
blind.
glass. Like,
I've been peat blind for the last like 3 weeks. Dude, I'm not even kidding. 2 nights ago, I had a glass of Lafroy cast strength.
mm-hmm.
I didn't smell peat. I didn't taste peat.
What?
Nothing.
Have you been having too many peated things to go with blind sample slowdown? Okay. Or you got COVID or what?
I'm peat. I don't have COVID. I can tell you that from this glass. I can smell the smoke. I can smell the peat. I can smell the delicious.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, McCarthy's #1 first American single malt. They were the original American single malt back in 1996, right? 96, 98.
Distilled in 94, released in 96.
Yes. Okay. Peated single malt, 100% peated. This one particularly is 100% peated malted barley, sourced from Port Ellen in Scotland. Which Port Ellen is, if you know,
is that right?
Yeah, that is
this
right.
one was a Port Ellen.
Yeah, that's where they get their barley from, right?
Baird's.
Oh, Baird's.
Yeah.
Where did I read Port Ellen?
So I think this might be unofficial, but I think a long time ago, before. So I have some facts about this one that aren't necessarily on the fact sheet. So I've got the press release, but I also have the release page has more information here. So this is a fourth fill cask, is one of the fourth fill Gariana cask is one of the things to note. One of the things that's not, 400 liter, which what does that work out to be?
Huge. That's what that works out to be.
75 gallon.
Yeah. So definitely not an American standard barrel,
No.
but it was. And that's kind of interesting. We know that Steve McCarthy was experimenting with different size casks in the early days, among other things. So this was one of the large ones, which is cool. You get less barrel contact. You still get that Oregon oak in there. And we know that now, thanks to that rum McCarthy's release, my single barrel, we know what McCarthy's tastes like in the absence of Gariana oak, which is really interesting. Still has the DNA of McCarthy's. Back in the early days, the wash for McCarthy's was brewed by Widmer Brothers in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And then Clear Creek Distillery, makers of McCarthy's, moved out to Hood River, Oregon, and switched to Double Mountain Brewing. So this is a Double Mountain Brewing. I asked Caitlin, this cask was made, the wash for this cask was made by Double Mountain. Okay. So that's one of the things that's not in Lost Lantern's fact sheet. So I'm happy to be able to put that out into the world. There was other information I was given that is privileged, so I won't say that. But maybe
so
will tell
if it's privileged information, don't share it.
I was wrong. It's actually 106 gallons.
Yeah, I was going to say that 75 sounds tiny.
Huge. Well, yes, basically twice the size of an American standard 53-gallon barrel.
Yes.
Yeah, which is roughly 200.
I mean, that's freaking
okay.
That's a big barrel.
Enormous.
So before we go goo over size of barrels here, and fourth fill, by the way, fourth fill. The fourth time it was filled. That's fantastic. You are getting nothing but lovely McCarthy's distillate here.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Okay.
It's still just a hint of Gariana oak. I do feel like I detect that here.
Okay, I'll go with it because I don't have a marker for Gariana specific. However, so the topic that I wanted to get into before getting sidetracked by this absolutely epic whiskey, the Scotch Whiskey Association has issued a cease and desist for Whiskey Del Box, Ode to Isla.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you brought up Warfield. This was the segue. Warfield. They are a distillery in Idaho. Nobody knows Idaho. Nobody goes to Idaho. Nobody lives in Idaho. However, they're making fantastic single malt whiskey there. Apparently, I haven't tried it yet, so I don't have a personal experience with it yet. But they are doing it in traditional Forsyth stills. Now, the Scotch Whisky Association has issued a cease and desist for Ode to Islay because it uses the word Islay on the label. This is not the first time they have done this. They went after Virginia Distilling for having the word Highland on their bottles. They went after
Virginia Highland whiskey.
They went after multiple Canadian whiskeys for using the word Glen, which the word Glen has nothing to do with Scottish whiskey. It means river. It means the word river. Okay,
it's like kind of or valley or something. It's like kind of a trademark because so many Scotches have that, but it's a place name thing.
But if
it's from a place,
a trademark.
If it's from a place in Canada that is actually named Glen whatever, then that feels like a step too far.
Okay, but here's the deals. My point of saying those things, my personal opinion on the SWA coming after word on a label that doesn't specify it doesn't specify that it's Scottish whiskey. It doesn't say that it's Scottish whiskey. It doesn't try to pretend that it's Scottish whiskey. It is a tribute, an ode, an homage to a particular style of whiskey or a particular region of whiskey that happens to come from Scotland and Scotland only. And everybody knows that. That's not a hidden thing, right? That's like there's no confusion here, right?
Nope.
There is zero chance that anybody out there buying whiskey will ever look at a bottle that says Tucson, Arizona, Ode to Islay. Man, this must be from Lafroig. No, you know what I mean? They're not going to think that, period.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is their britches are too big for what they are, and they're going after frivolous, ridiculous things in the name of protecting Scottish whiskey. I don't believe
it's kind of like how Disney goes after, like Disney staunchly defends their trademark and has also extended copyright law for their own sake, which has made public domain.
Where's the trademark? Where's the trademark in the word Islay? Who has the trademark to the word Islay?
It feels like a questionable thing.
Nobody has a trademark to that word. That's a place in the world. You know, you can't
trademark a region.
If I came in and I came to the market and I made haggis, right? And I called it Ode to Edinburgh. I made haggis, and it was the best haggis in the world. Everybody started buying my haggis. Do I have to worry about somebody from Scotland coming after me and issuing a cease and desist because I made a product that is traditionally made somewhere else? No, I shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
Right? I shouldn't have to. Now, if I said this is 100% legit Scottish haggis made here in the United States, and you get what I'm saying, right? They're Whiskey Del Bach put on their label, hey, this is an homage to the style of whiskey that comes from a island somewhere on the other side of the world that makes fantastic whiskey, has been making fantastic whiskey for many, many years. We are just trying to do what we can to pay our respect to them. And then here comes SWA. You can't use that word.
Yeah.
And the fact that they actually took this and redacted the name Islay off the labels hurts my feelings. It does. It hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
I would have told SWA, let's go. Let's take it to court. I will give you the middle finger all day long, sitting across from you in that courtroom. Bring your asses over here and let's take it to court. I will take it all the way up to the top.
So I tentatively have scheduled a brief interview with Mark to sort of get his take on the balance of things like that.
Right.
And I didn't get a chance to do that interview yet, so I don't know. It's probably better that I don't know his take yet, so I can give you my take. A lot of the time, right, if a company like Apple or Microsoft sues you, if a company if I think Apple's probably a really good example, right? If a company like Apple sues you because you infringed on their Apple logo, this is a real thing that happened. There was some convenience store in like Europe somewhere that used an apple with a bite taken out of it as a logo. And they sued that store to protect their trademark. And I know we're not talking about trade, so I looked it up. I'll get into that. So it's actually not trademark law. The SWA is doing something different.
That's what I'm saying.
But like when a company like Apple comes after you and says, "Hey, you can't use that logo," the first thing you think is it worth the lawyer's fees and the potential of losing this lawsuit and the time it's going to take to defend this thing? Is it that valuable to our brand? Is it worth potentially going bankrupt over defending this?
Yeah.
And for most small mom and pop shop, a brand like Whiskey Del Bach, the answer, unfortunately, is no. Because if you lose, you're financially screwed.
Right.
And you're going to have a magnifying glass on you from here on out.
Right.
Because they're going to be like, you're just trying to play with us now. I don't know why you would, but you know, and so it really hurts the brand as well.
Yeah. And unfortunately, these battles often go.
No, you're good.
Sure. Unfortunately, these battles often go to whoever has the bigger legal team. So oftentimes, a company that wants to stand up against Apple has to be Apple-sized, more or less.
Right.
And when you're talking about the SWA that represents, you know, everything that's labeled Scotch whiskey that comes out of Scotland and ships worldwide, and they're protecting their geographic indication. So it's not a trademark; it's the evocation of the geographic indication, Scotch whiskey, or any of its defined production regions, which includes Highland and Islay. Even though those are places, when you put those place names on a whiskey label, they argue. The consumer would the evocation test, the consumer would have in their mind, this is associated with Scotch whiskey of that style.
Absolutely.
That's the argument that they make. And they often make that argument successfully.
Well,
and
because
so a lot of brands just don't bother going up against them. They send a cease and desist and they say, well, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But I guess we don't have the money to fight it. And we're probably going to lose because case law indicates that we don't have a better case than anyone else who's already lost.
Right. Well, and it just goes to show like the not just the SWA, but like a lot of these other brands that are doing that and saying, you can't do that. That's a, you know, infringement or whatever. They're expecting that the consumer themselves is an idiot because like, if I picked up, like you were saying, that Whiskey Del Bach, I'm not going to think that it's from freaking Islay. This is the same thing that happened, and I do not support this brand anymore, but it's the same thing that happened with the Whiskey Tribe, right? They went and bought a 14-year-old Royal Brockla from Scotland and brought it over here. Well, guess what? They had to have it in bottles. Well, they didn't want that. So they put it in a huge tote, and then they had to teaspoon water into it to make it not that whiskey, and then call it something completely else.
And you can't call it Scotch because
you can't call it Scotch. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, I understand the legalities of it, and I'm not trying to infringe on those because this is different. But like, I understand there has to be law and there has to be order in all of this thing, or it's just chaos. And next thing you know, scotches are being blended with Japanese whiskey or something like that. You know,
in Japan, absolutely. And I agree with the rules, the laws, the regulations, the terminology protection. I get that, right? Okay. My problem is at no point in time did Whiskey Del Bach say this was an Islay whiskey.
Right.
That's right.
The wordage on the label says ode to a location.
Yeah.
It does not say ode to X whiskey.
Yeah. They don't say ode to Islay Scotch whiskey. I I'm
Correct.
fairly certain. I would assume that was a calculated move because they were hoping to sneak by SWA.
And they have for years.
I mean, I'm not going to
Because that's
say like
not-
I'm
this
not
is-
putting
this has
words
been
into
around
their
for a while.
mouth, right? Legal disclaimers, because
Okay.
it would hurt their case. I mean, they've already capitulated, but it
So
would hurt
at-
their case if there was going to be a case for me to say, oh, they knew SWA could possibly have an issue with the word Isla being on the label. I don't know that for sure.
So
But
here's
I imagine they knew, and they carefully chose the wording "Ode to Isla," hoping to slip by.
I think you're absolutely right. Now, for those of you who don't know, Scotch Whiskey Association, not quite the same, but the best thing that I can say is a comparable, so you kind of get the idea of who they are. The Scotch Whiskey Association is like RTTB. You're right. They're the ones that make the rules for what can be classified as what, right? So that's what Scotch Whiskey Association does over there. Now, my question is, why has the TTB not issued a cease and desist for Akantoshan, American Oak?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Why
mean,
hasn't they issued for cast type bourbon? Right? Why not? I'll tell you why not. Because it's a mutual respect. The Scotch Whiskey Association does not share that mutual respect. They just want to push and bully and tell everybody they can't make whiskey as good as we can. So we're not going to let you use certain freaking words. Go fuck yourself, SWA. That's my take on that.
I see that perspective. I think that I think it's probably a little more nuanced than that. So first of all,
sure there's all
SWA,
kinds of little intricacies about the whole thing. The long and short of it is they came after somebody for using a word.
Yeah,
that's true. Associate 100% to something that they are holding. There's no trademark on it, right?
No trademark, but a geographical indication. And it's okay. So here's a question I
Caribbean
do
rum
think
cask. That's a GI right there. Caribbean rum cask.
Yeah.
That
it depends on how they choose to enforce the GIs.
Yeah.
So devil's advocate
here's another thing. Diageo is one of the biggest offenders of putting geographical names of words on their bottles, right? Because they're the largest owner of all the Scotch whiskey out there. They put all these words on there. Nobody comes after them.
Yeah, but to be clear, though, geographical indication doesn't just mean
does not have the fundage, the clout, the status of Diageo. So who's going to stand up for them?
Right.
That's where the problem comes in. They know that nobody big enough is going to come in and stand up for Whiskey Del Bach to shut this shit down.
No, that's true. That's true. And I agree with you. I think it's kind of scummy of them to go after such a little guy. Why do you care so much? What is really the reach of this tiny craft distillery's whiskey?
Yeah.
Is a question. What kind of a threat is it to you? Do you really have nothing better to do?
Right.
Do you actually risk losing your geographical indication or your protected name of origin or whatever? There's multiple terms for this.
Yeah.
Because you didn't go after Ode to Isla. And I'm not going to give them fuel to the fire by telling them about another brand that exists that uses one of the words that they object to that has gone unnoticed so far.
I have one too.
There's a whole bunch.
They're inconsistent, right? And it just so happens that one of our favorite distilleries got smacked this time, and that makes us feel bad.
And because there was probably an award won somewhere. Right.
Probably. Yeah. There was absolutely. Del Bach has won a lot of awards on the international
for
stage
that. I mean, for that particular whiskey that caught the attention. That was the attention. Right.
Yeah. We'll see whether they have an issue with Normandy. I don't think there's any alcohol products with the name Normandy on it, but the Del Bach Normandy, right? There's another.
Well, it's a place. We better sue them because it's a place in France. We better.
But that's not the SWA's purview. But also, I don't think so. Aside from Calvados, I believe has to come from Normandy, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
It doesn't matter.
Calvados, Champagne, all these. There's a lot of products that have to come from specific places, and it just so happens in Scotland, the name of the product and production method or production style is also the name of a place, and that's what makes it feel so like. I feel like there's more of a reason to say Isla on a whiskey label, not okay. United States, we've got a reciprocal trade agreement. Respect our GI. We're telling you this is not okay. Go make it happen. Highland, same deal. Speyside, Lowlands is harder to argue. Like Highland Lowlands, Highland Lowlands are just like those are geographical regions.
But here's the difference between Highland, Speyside, Lowland, Campbelltown. Those are not region names of a country. Those are region names of a whiskey, right?
Yes, true.
Isla is the name of the island.
Of an island, yes.
It is the place. It is not right.
Right.
Maybe
but also Highland.
Maybe Del Bach is oding to the seagulls that he saw on Isla. We don't know. You don't know that. It's a place, right? They have gone too far.
And likewise, Highland and Lowlands isn't even a specific place.
No,
there are Highlands and Lowlands.
Generality.
Those words are dedicated to whiskey regions. Those words.
Yeah.
I can see a little bit more of an argument for that reason why Virginia got hit by using. I don't agree with it either.
It's about the same argument. I mean, Isla is a specific island, and they also co-opted it as a whiskey region. Highlands is one of many whiskey within Scotland. It's a whiskey region, but within anywhere else, it's a geographical region. Quite honestly,
you are correct. It is the Highlands of Scotland. It's not. It's not necessarily dedicated to. Speyside is dedicated to whiskey. Lowland is dedicated to whiskey. Campbelltown is also a place.
And so when you've got Isla on a whiskey label, okay, you can see that. And I think and without putting words in their mouth, I think there's a good chance, right? I think I was a very, very good chance that Whiskey Del Bach knew that SWA might have a problem with the word Isla being on a whiskey label. Not for sure. Maybe they didn't know that SWA had an issue with that kind of thing, but probably pretty good chance. But Virginia Highland whiskey, almost certainly, because they are in the Highlands of Virginia, almost certainly wasn't even trying to evoke probably didn't even have in their minds that SWA could possibly have a problem with that, and they got dinged anyway. And those types of examples, like it's the pattern of behavior. It's like, why are you so threatened by American whiskey? And I think that's the point we want to make here.
So and then here's the other thing. So I don't know if it was the TTB or who runs this sector of whatever, but Crown Royal wanted to make a label that said distilled from a bourbon mash. They didn't even call it bourbon. They just said it was distilled from a bourbon mash. They got hit. They got sued for that. Okay, so I don't agree with that either. I don't think that was a proper thing because I mean, I get bourbon can only be made in the United States, but they weren't making bourbon. They didn't say it was bourbon. They said it was a whiskey distilled from a bourbon mash. Now we do have that category here. That would be I made whiskey a bourbon, except mash. I put it in used barrels instead of new barrels, so it doesn't qualify that. But so I can see where that kind of like that played into the how that happened. But how many times has and what entity does that? What entity went after Crown Royal for having that on their label? Was it the TTB?
It's got to be.
That's what I assumed. Okay, so how many times has the TTB gone after anybody for anything spirits related for using an incorrect word? Right? How many do we know? I mean, is this a lot? Is this very minimal? Has it happened one time with Crown Royal and everybody said, "Oh, we better not piss them off," right?
But back on the point of bourbon cask and American oak, sometimes it has to.
First of all, the word bourbon is the problem when TTB went after Crown Royal. The word bourbon was the problem.
Right. And the bourbon mash thing. And like, you already have to be a certain level of nerdy to like even know what's going on there.
Right.
Like there's a lot of consumers who, you know, if you didn't educate them one way or another, rye is bourbon, bourbon is whiskey, or whiskey and bourbon are different things, or Stranahan's is bourbon, or American Single Malt is a particular type of bourbon, or bourbon is just whiskey made in America. There's so many misconceptions.
Yes.
You already have to be a certain level of educated for this to mean anything to you when you're going out and buying a whiskey.
I find
So
that
assuming-
I find that incorrect. And
Okay.
Go ahead. You keep going, and then I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay, well, so the idea that you go out and buy a whiskey that's, you know, a Canadian whiskey distilled from a bourbon mash, and you say, okay, well, the reading of the rule says, okay, you know what that means, but also the word bourbon being on there sort of suggests that it's from the United States, and we have a problem with that. I think it's a little hard to argue, but when there was a product that also said Canadian bourbon,
That's a problem. Agreed.
and that feels like a more clean-cut problematic.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Ode to Scottish Isle whiskey. I would have.
Yeah.
I could 100%. Well, you shouldn't have done that. That was dumb, right? Okay. So my issue with what you said, I do agree with you to an extent. However, on the backside of that, the opposite end of that, I have a friend who would look at a bottle of scotch and be like, "Oh, it was aged in X bourbon cask. I'm going to like this because I like bourbon."
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, that's not what that means. That means, you know, and the person is educated in whiskey, well educated in whiskey, very smart. Just that portion of it confuses some people. So them putting the word bourbon on the label, X or not, doesn't matter. If the word, like this one doesn't say X bourbon, it just says cask type bourbon. And bourbon is far bigger than any other word on that label.
Right.
What did that do to a consumer that doesn't know? Oh, it says bourbon on it. Cool.
Yeah. I think, and so that was kind of getting to the point that I had another point that I was going to make here, where like SWA is a certain way they want to enforce their geographic indication. Disney has a certain way that they want to enforce their trademarks, that other companies could do the same thing, but they don't choose to. And some of it is just the like politics, for lack of a better word, of playing well with consumers and playing well with other people in other parts of the world who are making products similar to what you're making. In the case of bourbon, I think the bourbon industry wants ex-bourbon barrels at like it helps Scotch because it means a certain thing.
Yeah.
And it's a useful thing for them. And by the same token, it's a useful sort of piece of advertising for American bourbon whiskey.
Yeah, I agree.
By the same token. And American oak is just a species of oak. And like, I understand where you're coming from with that argument. Oh, it's just a species of oak. It's just a geographical region, blah, blah, blah. But reciprocal trade agreements.
You can't trademark the word American oak because it is a tree that could grow anywhere. Just because it says American oak, it could actually grow anywhere. Right?
It could. Yeah, it could.
Trademark the word bourbon. It is trademarked. Mm-hmm. And yet we still allow them to use it.
I don't think it's a trademark. Because it's not a property of a single company. It's another geographic indication. It's just an American geographic indication. Bourbon can only be made in the United States
on that.
per TTB's rules, and the reciprocal trade agreements with other countries say, if you want us to sell your whiskey products in the United States, you have to respect our rules around labeling of your whiskey products and any other whiskey product that gets sold in your country that doesn't infringe on our geographic indication for bourbon, and so on and so on. And SWA says the same thing. If you want to sell this Scotch in the United States, the whiskeys you make in the United States have to respect the geographic indications about Scotch. And the ways that TTB and SWA want to enforce those geographic indications aren't necessarily the same.
And to your point about the bourbon industry likes the word bourbon on somebody else's label because of that there is a help, who's to say that 3,000 people didn't go to Del Bach, buy Ode to Isla, have no idea what whiskey is, never tried a Scotch in their life, and said, what does this mean, Ode to Isla? Oh, well, it's a specific style of whiskey that's made over in Scotland. Here, you should try some. And they go out and buy a bunch of Scottish whiskey. Right? You can't have it one way and not the other.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. We so far have not really talked about the McCarthy's, besides talking about what it is. It's fucking awesome.
It's really great.
Damn good.
It is really great.
We're going to lose our family-friendly rating by how much we like the... By the way, I've almost finished my glass, and that's going to be a problem because I only have this much with me, and I still have to do at least one podcast episode with it.
I did finish my glass.
I've got just a tiny bit left because I wanted to talk about what's left in the glass. By the way, little piece of trivia. Did you guys notice the background of this video is different from the last one we did? And it's different from my usual video background. And because our faces
noticed it was
covering
different, but I don't know what it is.
And I'm not going to try to figure out how to actually show the audience what that image is. We have used this image background before a long time ago. This is the Clear Creek still.
Okay. All right.
So I put this up because
I was assuming that's what it was, but
yeah, I happen to have this in my background set on StreamYard because this was one of the custom backgrounds we did. And by the way, that other background, the one I usually use, that's also a picture I took, and that one is the Balcones Barrel House.
Which I had not been to.
Yeah, this one I picked because we got a McCarthy's today, and so we're paying respects to McCarthy's.
Absolutely.
The smoke is on another level.
Mm-hmm.
It is not pungent mermaid bathwater, Band-Aid, iodine. It's not.
It's gonna spew.
It's not those smoke notes, right? This is
mermaid bathwater is funny.
This is when you lit your smoker. You got the wood chips going, right? You haven't put any meat on it yet. It's just the smokers going.
Yep.
And you walk down to the end of the driveway to get the mail. So you're 300 feet away from your smoker, but you can smell that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So this one reminds me, the very first McCarthy's bottle that I bought was a single cask that was almost 4 years old in a third or fourth fill McCarthy's barrel. I can't remember if they knew precisely and told me, but many times refilled McCarthy's all the way down. And something about that number of refills and McCarthy's produces these really interesting, subtle earthy tones.
Oh, yeah.
So even on a much younger whiskey cask strength, way punchier on the peat, you still get that sort of old library book. And I call it raspberry pop rocks, like those sort of like subtly bright, but a little bit earthy flavors that are just kind of floating around in there. And the 10 years brought the smoke way down.
Mm.
And also there's a bit more, even though it's it's a many times refilled barrel, there's also more barrel influence in here than usual, or like, the kind of barrel influence you get in like the sort of mid, like the 10 to 20-year-old Scotch range, right? That's sort of like you're getting a 12, 15-year-old Scotch, the slow extraction of wood from a refill cask. You get those really subtle sort of caramel toffee, vanilla. There's bits of citrus in here too.
Mm.
But this has got that strong... is stronger than McCarthy's usually does in terms of that oaky background that supports all those other flavors.
I like the raspberry pop rocks note. I like that. That's nice. That's a nice note, Doug.
It's one of the first really unique tasting notes I ever got. And I'm not just saying it because it's McCarthy's, but I've only gotten that from McCarthy's, and I don't get it from every McCarthy's.
Mm.
The earthy is not there for me on this one. I know the earthy McCarthy's. I don't pick up the earthiness on this one as much.
For me, the really earthy part is the end, like sort of the mid finish.
Okay, and that's coming across on as like citrusy and ash for me.
Okay. I get like decaying leaves on the finish.
Yeah. Petrichor.
We had a fun time with that word the other day.
Yeah. Wow.
It's excellent whiskey, guys. Realistically, if you've never had a McCarthy's, one, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Yeah, absolutely.
And two, just go do it. Just go get them McCarthy's. Lost Lantern or otherwise, just go get them McCarthy's. It's fantastic.
As long as we're talking about price, this McCarthy's is $150, cask strength, 10 years from Lost Lantern. When McCarthy's 6-year PX finished came out 4 years ago, it was $150.
6 years. And is it cask strength?
6 years old. 6 year, the 6-year PX, and it's not cask strength. I believe that one's 50%.
56.13.
Okay.
I would assume that's cask strength.
Yeah, that one's so one of the other, it must have been the Oloroso finish, I think, is some round proof number.
That one's your bottle.
Or maybe the 6-year is, that's not the point.
56 proof, but on the
okay, so the cask strength is not the distinction. The difference is 4 more years of age, some number of years later. Older whiskey, same price, right? Yeah. I think if you just and I thought that I think McCarthy's, don't tell anyone, I think McCarthy's is underpriced just generally across the board.
Yeah. No.
Not compared to Scotch. You look at the same thing from Scotland, the prices are way lower.
Somebody put a marker on that timestamp.
Yeah. Edit that out.
What is this one?
118.6.
You seriously going to cut that out?
59.3. No, joking, but no, I agree with you. They are
within the realm of American single malt.
I don't know if they're underpriced. I think they're accurately priced.
They're accurately priced, where a lot of American single malt whiskey is overpriced.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
So comparatively,
market
they
data
perform
says that they're less
very well. And I think you're still getting a deal with this 10-year McCarthy's.
Yes. And the fact that they said, we don't want to produce this in our distillery, we want Lost Lantern to do it for us. Like, here, take our oldest aged whiskey and just release it yourself.
Yeah.
That to me, the trust, and that was another thing that it wasn't on the list, and we can talk about it later, but like trusting the brands as well. Mm-hmm. Like, we know that Lost Lantern's going to create some banger bottles. We've talked about it all night, right? So that more than likely the next Lost Lantern that comes out is going to be freaking awesome. You can just pretty much guarantee it's going to be, because of the way, not only their reputation, but Adam's palate, and the way that they present the whiskey in a certain way, they're going to definitely not pick bad barrels. I mean, it's just one of those things. Now, there might be some that are off profile from what you're used to, but they're not going to be bad. One of my favorite bottling so far that I've had was the Rich Grain from Mississippi. I mean, good Lord, that freaking bottle. Of course, it was hazmat. It was super hot and fiery, but like the complexity of the in that bottle was so good. And obviously, all of these that we've had tonight have been stellar, knock it out of the park. I can't say enough good things about Lost Lantern, but also not just Lost Lantern, the distilleries behind it, right? I had never had AAA. So, and I saved a little bit of it because I do want to sit down with it when it is different when you're recording, right? You're recording, you're sipping it and you're talking about it. But when you're sitting down and you can actually think about it, it's a totally different mindset. I want to save a little bit to where I can really get into it and savor it a little bit. But everything that we've had tonight has been absolutely, it just showcases these people. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, as long as we're doing like unfiltered takes, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, I said Lost Lantern, everything they make is objective. Everything they release is objectively good. Not all of it is for me.
Right.
So just to like actually put my money where my mouth is on that. It's bourbon. With me, it's always bourbon. Bourbon for me is hard to justify price. And the prices that Lost Lantern charges, not unreasonable across the board. I think that their American single malt prices are very good. I think for what they're doing, cask strength bourbon at a certain age, generally pretty good prices. But have I ever met a bourbon I wanted to pay $90, $100 for? Very, very rarely. And
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of people who would probably say the same thing about
Yeah.
American Single Malt,
Yes.
where they say, no, bourbon, like I see the value, like they're doing something unique here. I've tasted a lot of bourbons. These are really cool, really high quality casks worth $90, $100. Sure.
Right.
But American Single Malt, I've only tasted XYZ, and I don't see how an American Single Malt could be worth $150.
Right.
And my message to you is you haven't tried these American Single Malts.
Well, barley's more expensive than corn.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of things, right? There's all kinds of things.
Yeah,
Not all American single malt is expensive. Some, I mean, Virginia Distilling, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a lot about it in episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
You got to get people over the hump a little bit with, like, I could see somebody. That's the other thing about this collection, right? Like, if you know who Lost Lantern is, or you don't, if you like Scotch and you're interested in this collection because of the name of it, but you look at the price tags and you say, wow, I'm not sure I want to drop. Warfield is the cheapest. It's $90.
I'm not that interested.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not that interested in trying American Single Malt for the first time with this brand that I've never bought from before. Okay. Fair.
It is fair.
What's really gonna get people over the hump into American Single Malt if it's not gonna be Lost Lantern, who has won your trust on bourbon time and time again, or rye, and their American Single Malts are great too. If it's not gonna be Lost Lantern earning your trust on a release like this, what's it gonna be?
I don't know if I don't know if it's possible at that point in time.
Like, what's and like for some people it's going to be $30 on Virginia Distilling Company, the VDC line. For some people it's going to be $35, $45 on Stranahan's the Blue Peak, or Balcones Lineage or something. It's going to be a low cost bottle that's going to get them interested in the brand, and someday they're going to say, okay, I'm willing to try that brand again, but from a higher offering from the same brand, or a single cask from Lost Lantern, which are available for. Actually, I don't think Stranahan's has made a debut in a single cask from Lost Lantern yet.
No.
Or even in a blend.
I don't think so at all.
Yeah, so I think for a lot of people it's going to be the stepping stones, right? It's going to be, you have to give them a low cost offering to get in that's good enough to keep their attention and bring them back when they're willing to spend a little bit more money, and then they're hooked on the brand, and then they go try a really premium or an independent bottling brand, bottling from the same brand, and then they're in it, and then they're going to pivot and say, wow, this American Single Malt is really cool. Maybe I'm going to try a different brand of American Single Malt next time.
Right.
And for that, Lost Lantern is going to be there for you, right? Like you say, Balcones, higher cost Balcones, Lost Lantern Balcones, Lost Lantern Warfield, or Lost Lantern McCarthy's, or Lost Lantern Boulder Spirits, or Lost Lantern Cedar Ridge.
At the end of the day, it's getting whiskey to lips. That's what it's about. It's getting them to actually try the whiskey and say it's worth the extra money. It's worth, you might be used to paying $30, $40. This is worth $100, or this is worth $150 because of this is what it is. Because it's a 10-year-old, first time they've ever done this, heavily peated, blah, blah, blah. It's this. This is the reason you're spending the extra money. And it's coming at cask strength, non-chill filtered, all the things, as well as absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, to this point, and Warfield, go on their website, organic American single malt whiskey, 47%, right?
Yep.
Purchase price, $89.99 US.
Yeah, that's tough.
Lost Lantern whiskey, Warfield, Idaho single malt, $100. Cask strength, 67.7%. So 20 more percentage points on the ABV.
Yep.
Same whiskey. From somebody that many people have come out and said, I trust what they're doing. They do great things. They're fantastic. All these good things about them, right?
Right.
Also, that says to me, Lost Lantern is not doing things to increase the price. So, like, I've seen independent bottlers somewhere go, okay, so here I'm the Scotch SMWS, very classic for this. Okay, they have a 16-year-old Ardbeg or they had a 16-year-old Ardbeg for $900. $900. When you could buy a Ardbeg 17 for $2 something, and it was still cast strength.
Yeah. The new anthology is 17, and it's like, right at $200. Like, what are we doing?
So, okay, so where does the extra $600 come in? Oh, because it's SMWS, that's where the extras. That's what I'm getting. Lost Lantern's not doing that. Lost Lantern's not saying, hey, we're the best American independent bottler. We're going to charge a premium on top of what the regular pricing would be. No.
Right.
A $10 increase for a cast strength version of something that's already $90. Right. That's
it's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer.
A minimal increase for a product that somebody that you have trusted has said is fantastic.
Yeah. So we know single malt is expensive to make.
Right.
Making whiskey on a small scale, at a craft scale, like many of these distilleries, is expensive.
It's even more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got all your upfront costs and you've got way less volume of liquid to spread it around. And then you got to pay the bills. You got to pay your employees, their salaries and whatever. And usually, as a for-profit business, you want to actually turn a profit at the end of the day. So there's markup in there, right? And I think if you look at Warfield as an example where they barely increased the price. If you look at 888 as an example where they decreased the price compared to the OBs by a significant margin. I think what this tells you is that Lost Lantern, is buying casks for whatever the distillery is willing to sell them for, which is going to be, at cost with probably a small amount of markup, right? They don't have to do any of the marketing part. They don't have to do the bottling and the selling and so on. So the cost of buying a cask is less to the distillery than the cost of doing a release. Right. And they don't have an opportunity then to put their own markups on it. So then Lost Lantern's holding a cask that they got for at cost at a reasonable cost of goods. And then making a decision that, and I think this is the mission of Lost Lantern, right? They want to get liquid to lips, just like what we were talking about. They want to, I think Lost Lantern's plan is to make money by continuously selling good whiskey and also telling the story of these brands at the same time. They don't want to sticker shock people. They want to sell it for what's going to sell. That also is at least their cost.
Yeah.
There's two ways to make it in business. One, gouge and overcharge everybody that you deal with, and you will make a lot of money. Or charge reasonable prices, and this is every business, not just this business. Charge reasonable prices for good services, fair prices, and get repeat business.
Right.
The second way, the latter, you will sustain a much longer business than the first option.
And we see lots of evidence from Lost Lantern that that's their business model, right?
The
Discovery Club. The Discovery Club tells you everything you need to know. It's locking in a whole bunch of their biggest fans to spend money every month.
And guess what? They got all of us just like that. We're like, yep.
It wasn't even a thing. Like,
it was a
no-brainer for me. I just did it.
Yeah.
I wasn't even questioning it. So, but all right, we are at 2 hours, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. We've gone over, as I knew we would.
We'll be all right.
We'll be fine. I hope if you're still sticking around at this point, just know that if we plan for an hour, it'll be an hour and a half. If we plan for an hour and a half, it'll be 2 hours. If we plan for 4 hours, you might as well buckle up, baby. You're going for a ride.
Absolutely.
We're just doing a subathon at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
But anywho, to sum everything up, Scotch Malt Whiskey Association, their britches are too big for who they are. They need to step it back a little bit. That's my opinion. Doug, he has the same opinion, but he understands the other. He understands it a little bit more than I do.
I've always been the type that holds multiple opinions simultaneously. It infuriates some people.
I'm legitimately angry. Like, I have no stake in the business at Delbach. I have no stake in the Ode to Isla, and I'm legitimately angry at this move. Like, it pisses me off.
Yep.
You know, in fact, if like for me, I'm an eye for eye type of person, right? You treat me how you want to be treated, and if you treat me a certain way, I'm going to treat you reciprocally.
Yep.
If I was the TTB, I would be doing similar things, right? I'd find every single label that had the word bourbon on it, and I'd hit them for everything they got.
Are you saying you do that because SWA is doing it, or because you think it would be better for business?
I would do it. I would do it to shut them the hell up. Be like, listen, if you want to do this for this little distillery that uses a place, the name of a place on a label, right? Like,
yeah. Does it directly hurt their business to do that though? Like, if you say, okay, you can't use bourbon cask on your label anymore, does that end up hurting?
Whose business does it hurt? I bet you that would hurt Scotch whiskey business more than it would hurt American bourbon business.
Oh, probably, for sure.
For sure. Because there is plenty of people out there that would look at that and be like, oh, American oak what?
I guess it hurts.
Was it sherry cask? Was it expert? I don't know what I don't know if I'm going to like this. I'm not going to buy it.
There's so few labels in the United States that even come close to running afoul of SWA's rules. Yeah,
thank you.
Right. It's going to hurt Scotch more than it would hurt the United States.
So it's the long and short. Like, there is no trademark to the word Isla, right? You cannot trademark a place. This has gone over in many, many things. You cannot trademark a color. You cannot trademark a feeling, a word that associates with it. You can't, right? Okay. Jack Daniels, they sued a dog toy making company because their dog toy was the label of Jack Daniels with different words on it. Okay. Yep. Jack Daniels label is a trademark label. I understand that, right? Do I think maybe it was a little excessive? They didn't need to do that. Why don't you embrace it? You would turn a whole bunch of more consumers that aren't whiskey drinkers or aren't Jack Daniels drinkers, that are dog lovers. You would say that you would tell them, hey, this is something that this company did wrong. The company that was wrong came and said, listen, let's go with it. Let's run it. Right. Why do we got to own everything? Why do we got to own these words, these labels, these pictures? Why can't we just make it all work cohesively? I don't know.
I just want to say though, the upshot of this, we didn't get to this earlier, but the upshot of this for Whiskey Delbach is actually this has turned into a great marketing story for them.
Oh, good. Now I hope
I
hope that they succeed off the tails of this better than you could even imagine.
And also, Ode to Redacted with the label scratched out would have been an excellent label.
Absolutely.
My understanding is TTB lets them remove words that are non-critical to the type, but they can't add new words. So they didn't have to apply for a new cola to remove the to Isla part. So this year released is just Ode.
Ode. No.
I want the bottle that Mark actually crossed Isla out.
Yeah.
I want that bottle.
That would be great.
I
hope though that they apply for a label next year that says Ode to Redacted. Like, I hope they bring that back because that's excellent branding.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know if they'll get away with it legally, but it would be just a wonderful slap in the face to SWA.
I don't think there's any legal thing that says you can't do that because that's just the name. It's not a style. It's not a type. It's not pertinent information to the TTB. They don't care. You could put Mickey. Well, you couldn't do that because then somebody else would come after you. But you get what I'm saying. Anywho, moving on to that, we covered 3 different Lost Lantern whiskeys from their new Scotch Lovers release. The Scotch Lovers release, it is what it is. If you like Scotch whiskey, you're going to like every whiskey in this release.
I think so.
If you're curious about American Single Malt, these are some of the best American Single Malts you're going to be able to get.
Yeah.
at prices that are very fair and reasonable.
Yeah.
For
and
what
without naming products, I wouldn't necessarily say that about everything from Lost Lantern, even in the American Single Malt category.
Absolutely.
Like I think there have been better examples across the American whiskey landscape of American Single Malt whiskeys than some of the Lost Lanterns specifically. But this collection in particular,
yes.
some of the best whiskey, some of the best American Single Malt whiskeys I've had. Period.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll agree with that. I totally agree with everything about that statement. And then yeah, the third topic to summarize, American Single Malt is not trying to replace your Scotch. They're just trying to. It's not trying to be a replacement. It's trying to be a what is the word that I'm looking for here? A counterpart,
an homage, an ode.
It's a counterpart. It's you know, if you're stuck on one absolute bottle and that's the only bottle you buy, it's the only bottle you ever drink. I don't know if there's anything that anybody can do for you. But if you're an explorer and you try multiple different distilleries from across any Scottish region brand, all of that stuff, that American Single Malt is just trying to add to that ability to try, right? They're not trying to be that. They're trying to be their own thing, and they make some really good stuff, and it's really fun to drink. So
it is.
Give them a shot. There's nothing. What's the worst that's going to happen? I can guarantee you've spent $90 on worse bottles.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So for the most part, there's two ways into American Single Malt. It's either you're coming in from the bourbon style, where like anybody who played it safe and they wanted to call their whiskey malt whiskey did it in New Oak, and there's plenty of examples of that. You can find them. Stranahan's and Boulder are great examples that all, you know, they did that style and they came out tasting not like that style, which is great. It shows you the power of the category. Even you could do it just like bourbon and still not come out that way. And then the other way is to do it pretty much just like Scotch. And we have here a collection for people who don't like bourbon but are interested in American Single Malt. This is for you.
Yep. Absolutely.
Even if you do like bourbon, but you're interested in American Single Malt.
You got to embrace all of American Single Malt. The bourbon side, the Scotchy side, the everything weird and odd in between.
Everything weird, odd in between.
Seaweed smoked. I still haven't tried that one, but I'm so excited. Seaweed smoked American Single Malt from Maine. I think maybe I don't know. They didn't say this.
Okay,
well, I need to go find.
I'm interested. Now you need.
Who's that brand? Do you guys know what brand that is? I keep forgetting. Okay, I have to go find him.
Is it like the same brand that did Crab Trapper and all that?
No.
Okay.
You're talking about the one where it was crab seasoning, or like the
no. It was like crab water. Was portion of the
blue crab water whiskey. Yeah, no, not that one.
No. Okay.
That was
thing there up there somewhere. I don't know.
But that was certainly a thing that existed. Of all the whiskeys of all time, that was one of them.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you stuck around for the 2 hours and 12 minutes of this rambling. We got a little heated at the end there, or at the in that ending ish, and I'm hoping that's all right. But you know what?
That's what we're here for.
Sometimes
we got to challenge each other. Sometimes, if we all agree with each other all the time, it's no fun.
Guys, leave us some comments, leave us some questions, leave us some ideas, some topics maybe that you want to hear about.
Yeah, for sure.
All of that. Again, we are here for the consumer, not for the brands. So any brand that we talk about is from a consumer standpoint. Like we are the consumer when we talk about this brand. We're not paid by these brands. We're not supported by these brands. We're not gifted stuff by these brands for the most part. And if we are, we'll let you know.
Did for this, we did get these samples from Lost Lantern, but what we all did was we said, hey, Lost Lantern, would you mind if we use this media pack for a different podcast as well?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, sure. So this is with permission, but they didn't give us these for this.
Yeah. But we bought them anyways. So
let's not forget, this series is going to become a YouTube channel. We started the YouTube channel. Go subscribe.
Yeah.
So you can find this. If you don't care about our individual podcasts, which you should, they're all good. If I say so myself. But if you don't care about our individual podcasts and you want to follow this series, we have a YouTube channel for you.
Yep.
Contrary, I don't have a podcast individually. I am on a podcast individually. However, purely entertainment, come check out the Blind Sample Showdown.
It's a good time.
I do want you to do that.
It is for sure. Come check out the Single Malt Frontier and check out the Whiskey Shaman podcast. Those are the other respective podcasts.
Please do.
And I suppose we might as well mention Bourbon with Friends while we're at it.
Bourbon with Friends podcast as well. That is a podcast that I'm a host on as well. So,
all right, guys. One last question for you. Of everything we drank tonight, what was your favorite?
McCarthy's.
Easy.
McCarthy's.
Easy.
McCarthy's.
I'm glad we agree.
I don't think there was a question on that at all.
I mean, they were all fantastic. They were all
fantastic. But the McCarthy's just
blew it out.
So just incredible.
Guys, until next rip. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Take another sip.
Spirits up.
Until next rip, take another sip.
Rip it and lip it.
All right, guys. I appreciate everyone.